Hey guys, MCU Collector here with another video, and here we have the Morphonauts Wave 1 magnetic action figures. So Morphonauts reached out to me and asked me to review these Wave 1 figures for you guys because guess what? Wave 2, July 28th on Kickstarter, they begin their campaign to bring you the Wave 2 action figures. So here, today, you'll see the video for Wave 1, but right now, check out this clip of the preview for Wave 2. Okay, so as you guys kind of saw in that little preview clip for Wave 2, these action figures have all kinds of points of articulation, magnets, so you can switch out the part, so you can mix, match, morph, all with magnets. So we're going to take a look at these first three in the Wave 1. So we have the Razornaut, as you can see, the Pyronaut, and we have the Krabonaut. So we're going to do one by one, and then we're going to put them together and mix up the pieces and mash them around to see what kind of cool things we can come up with. Let's start with Razornaut. Okay, and if you're interested in hearing the Morphonaut story, go ahead and pause the screen now and take a look at the story. And then if you're interested in the Razornaut and his bio, go ahead and pause the screen now so you can read that bio. Now let's take a look at the figure. Okay, so here is the Razornaut. So some of these pieces can all kind of be removed. So like the head is on a magnet there, and it's actually on like a ball hinge magnet. So, you know, it doesn't just swivel, of course, because it's a magnet. You got a little bit of movement in the head going. So that is actually pretty nifty. I was a little worried that, you know, the articulation would be pretty limited there. Now on the arms, however, you're just going to kind of get the standard rotation there at those shoulders. And again, those are on by magnets, as well as the legs on by magnets, but the legs at least have a little bit of a hinge so you can move the legs outward instead of just kind of up and down, as you can see there. So very interesting stuff, and you can see you can do all kind of customizing things. So even like this backpack part, that's held on there by a magnet. That one's actually a little bit stronger because it took a little bit more force to get off there, and then these weapon pieces can actually attach on there, and these are on a ball joint as well, so those can kind of hinge around. And then you actually have these pegs so he can actually hold them in his hands like so, to use as the weapons however you want to do it. There's a couple of different pegs there on how you're going to want to get him to use those weapons, which is pretty cool. And then of course, because it is magnetic, you can even do crazy things like this. So say he loses an arm, you got something like that. Now it may not be as effective as a leg, but that's something that you could do if you really wanted to. So that's pretty interesting there. So let's take a look at the full articulation of this guy. So we saw the head, you get the rotation. The arms, you're just going to get that full motion there. You're not really going to get too much movement in there, but you know, you will pop that magnet off. So, you know, think about that. You get a single jointed elbow, which gives you a 90-degree bend, as you can see there. There is actually an ab swivel right there, kind of mid-ab section. And then the legs, you can kick forward that high, go back quite a bit, and then it does come out a little bit, and then there is a single jointed knee right there. It gets you a little bit less than 90 degrees and no ankle pivot. So there is Razornaut. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, and here is the bio for the Pyronaut right there, so go ahead and pause the screen if you want to read that now. Okay, so this guy is the beast of this wave. This guy is crazy. He's a lot bigger. He's significantly heavier than Razornaut. As you can see, he's definitely a lot bulkier, and I really like this idea of this weapon storage that you could do here. So you can remove those guns or flamethrowers, I would think, because he's got like these tank looking things. You got these hoses, so I would say flamethrowers, because Pyronaut, get it? And you got these tanks here, and that is magnetic and just plugs it in the back of him there as well. And then of course he's magnetic, so you can remove the head. As you can see there, the arms do come apart as with the Razornaut, and then the legs come off as well. So we'll do some of that mix and match a little bit later on. So looking at the articulation of Pyronaut. You get the swivel in the head. There's a little bit of that up and down hinge motion, but not a whole lot. I mean, the way the suit is, you know, it'd be difficult to really get a whole lot of movement in this anyway. You know, he is a robot. The single jointed elbow, though, is a little bit limited. So they're standard down, and then you get one hinge, and that's all it goes. So not a whole lot there, but that forearm is extremely bulky. So you know, a double hinge probably wouldn't have even done anything for that elbow as well. Full rotation, of course, and you get a little bit of pivot going on in that shoulder there. Not a whole lot, but there is some. The swivel is in that kind of mid-abdomen there, right under this armor piece, so that is actually hidden quite nicely. So I like that. You can move it around quite a bit, quite nicely. You can kick the legs straight out, as you can see there, and then you can go back quite a bit with it as well. And then you get a single jointed knee, which only gives you that much bend at the knee. But again, this gigantic robot, naturally, of course, it would be a little bit limited there. So that looks really good. As far as the weapons, he has the peg right there, so you can put those right into the hands, so he can use his flamethrower like so. Really nice. And then just to play around with it a bit, see what kinds of things that we could do. You can even turn the weapon into his arm like so. That is pretty cool. And then you can see, you know, here, the way these ported in, you can use the magnets, and you can do them in any kind of direction. So when he has like this backpack portion on him, you can use it as like the weapon, as you can see there, and it really looks intimidating. Pop the arm right back on there, and there you go. Now let's take a look at Crabbonaut. Okay, and here is the bio for the Crabbonaut. So go ahead and pause the screen now so you can read through. You know what? I thought the Pyronaut would kind of be my favorite. I think the Crabbonaut is really growing on me because this thing just is really cool. The claw hands, I really like. And then on top of that, so the backpack piece that each one has, you know, it's magnetized on his back. So you have these extra claw arms that you can kind of position in several different ways. There's no points of articulation along that claw, but right at the magnet, it's got a hinge, so you can kind of move it around and get it into different menacing poses kind of on those extra arms on his back piece. So that is actually really cool how they did that. So you can do things like that. Taking a look at the figure there, so you can see the head right there. There's not going to be a whole lot of motion. You can look up somewhat. You can't really look down, but of course you get that swivel rotation on the magnet, and again, you can remove it because it is a magnet. The arm, you get a full rotation there. You can see it's held on by magnet because they are held on by magnets. You get a single jointed elbow, which is pretty limited, so you only start from that position and only go there, so not even 90 degrees. So kind of like the Pyronaut, it is limited. We get that ab swivel right there, and just like Pyronaut, this one's hidden as opposed to the Razornaut, which isn't really hidden. I mean, it's right in some cut, so they make it work, but it's really nice when it's really hidden in there, so that looks good. You get the leg to go up crazy high because there's nothing really limiting it there. And then going back, of course, you can get it to go back. Single jointed knee, which only gives you that much bend at the knee. Not a whole lot, so these things are a little limited in articulation, but the fun factor is there, especially, you know, when you get to do all kinds of things and change out the parts. So like here with these regular arms, let's say you do that, you could put on these other claws, and you know what? That really works as well. I mean, it's a crab, right? So you could do things like this because he's a crab. That makes sense, right? So now let's get all three together and let's do some crazy little swapping of parts to see all the kinds of things that you could do and let your creative juices flow. Okay, so we have them all together. I think the most obvious one is, let's see, if we pop the human head off of Razornaut and onto Pyronaut, you can look like, you know, a man in a mech suit. So I actually really like the way that looks, but even more so onto the Crabbonaut head, of course, you can look like somebody in a crab mech type suit. So that actually works out really, really well. Let's pop some different heads on some different things. Ooh, that could work too for a nice little helmet type look. And then let's say the Crabbonaut head onto Pyronaut. Yeah, you know what? Those actually all look really well together, popping out the heads. Now, the arms might be a whole different story on how kind of that's going to look on a figure. You know, you can customize these all different ways that you want. You know, if you want to do different paint apps onto these things, you can really make some very interesting and creative things. So let's say these ones. Now, these arms are a little bit heavier, so it's not really going to hold that position on there, but you can swap out those arms because that could really work. Now, let's say you want to do legs. you can do that. And the legs are the same, so you can actually stand up just fine. There's no issues getting him to stand up when you have different leg lengths, anything like that. So look at how that is. So all kinds of things. Use your own imagination on what you want to do. And then you can still kind of swap out these weapon pieces to anybody as well. So each different hand can hold the different weapons. You can, let's do this. Let's get these crab arms onto there. Let's do, so you can do all kinds of crazy things. Careful, I mean, you have to make sure to balance it. They are held on by magnets, as you can see, but you can do all kinds of crazy things with them like that. Now, I'm not the most creative or super creative, but I'm sure my son will be able to do all kinds of good stuff with this. And here are 3 designs that my son came up with, and as you can see, he is much more creative than I am. Isn't that right, Tyler?
Yes.
Okay, so talking about the Morphonauts, so looking again at the Kickstarter for Wave 2, when looking at Wave 1 versus Wave 2 and kind of some of the upgrades and improvements that they made between them. So here you can see a few different things: ball and socket head and neck, magnetic ball and socket arm, swivel hinge elbows, swivel hinge wrists, magnetic ball and socket hips, double jointed knees, and ankle rockers. So all kinds of crazy articulation actually going on with Wave 2. They went away with the magnetic neck, so it'll actually be on a ball peg, so you could swap around those heads as well. And I'm pretty sure if you have other 4-inch figures, you might be able to swap some heads on there. Looking at you, Star Wars and Marvel Universe collectors, all kinds of weird different things you could do. So of course here, you only had 13 points of articulation in this Wave 1. There will be 25 points of articulation in Wave 2, so crazy amount of upgrades for that new wave. So you'd seen earlier in that clip some of the previews, so here are some of the different things that you'll see. So there's going to be more color options per figure. So you can do different army buildings, you can have different designs, have a bunch of different figures going for it. So Wave 1 is available now. Link in the video description below to morphonauts.com to go check out their website. You can actually buy like individual pieces as well as the entire figure. And then link in the video description for that Wave 2 Kickstarter, which again starts Tuesday, July 28th. So there it is. Thanks for watching, guys. If you guys liked the video, please hit that thumbs up button, subscribe if you haven't already done so. And as always, thank you for watching as we swap around and put some other pieces together. You can even put a leg on an arm piece, I guess, if you really wanted to. So, crazy things. Thanks, guys. Okay, so talking about the Morphonauts, so looking again at the Kickstarter for Wave 2, when looking at Wave 1 versus Wave 2 and kind of some of the upgrades and improvements that they made between them. So here you could see a few different things: ball and socket head and neck, magnetic ball and socket arm, swivel hinge elbows, swivel hinge wrists, magnetic ball and socket hips, double jointed knees, and ankle rockers. So all kinds of crazy articulation actually going on with Wave 2. They went away with the magnetic neck, so it'll actually be on a ball peg, so you could swap around those heads as well. And I'm pretty sure if you have other 4-inch figures, you might be able to swap some heads on there. Looking at you, Star Wars and Marvel Universe collectors, all kinds of weird different things you could do. So of course here, you only had 13 points of articulation in this Wave 1. There will be 25 points of articulation in Wave 2, so crazy amount of upgrades for that new wave. So you'd seen earlier in that clip some of the previews, so here are some of the different things that you'll see. So there's going to be more color options per figure. So you can do different army buildings, you can have different designs, have a bunch of different figures going for it. So Wave 1 is available now. Link in the video description below to morphonauts.com to go check out their website. You can actually buy like individual pieces as well as the entire figure. And then link in the video description for that Wave 2 Kickstarter, which again starts Tuesday, July 28th. So there it is. Thanks for watching, guys. If you guys liked the video, please hit that thumbs up button, subscribe if you haven't already done so. And as always, thank you for watching as we swap around and put some other pieces together. You can even put a leg on an arm piece, I guess, if you really wanted to. So, crazy things. Thanks, guys.